joining us to discuss this very topic is now Joshua Burgin from Warsaw Security Forum. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Good morning again. Nice to see both of you.
So now, for starters, to your mind, what were the key highlights, let's say, of the second day of the NATO summit?
Well, the key takeaways that I saw, there's not a lot that's surprising. The language around Ukraine, essentially is saying, yes, you'll be a member one day in the future. That path is not exactly clear. I don't think anyone's surprised there, but that's certainly a reality. I think it's been quite interesting as well to note how clearly the UK, under its new political leadership, has very, very strongly reaffirmed its support for Ukraine, and the fact that it has basically doubled down there. These are sort of my big key takeaways. Obviously, with the political shifting on all fronts, this is a key time for this leadership to get together, sidebar meetings, and their aides to sort of converse with each other about what to expect in the coming months in the future.
Joshua, we have two major announcements. Is that Ukraine will get additional more than 40 billion US dollars, but also that already this summer F-16 fighter jets will be operating in Ukraine. Could this be a game changer?
I think it's long overdue. I mean, the U.S. has been dragging its feet on the F-16s for reasons I'm not clear on. I understand there's been claims of training. There has been technical work going on for some time that I've been aware of. But nevertheless, I'm looking forward to that happening and think that we should have done this at least 6 months to a year ago.
And now, of course, we have to remember now and mention now cyber defense cooperation as NATO member states reach a consensus on a new framework, which includes, of course, rapid response teams to assist any member state under cyber attack and a dedicated fund for cyber defense research and development. So how significant really is this new agreement reached during the summit?
I think this is a huge development. Over the past years, I've been frustrated by the lack of our sort of consistency and understanding that indeed cyber attacks are part of a war strategy. I was part of a private discussion last summer in which delegates there that are more experienced than I am in cyber refused to describe the level at which Russian cyber attacks, particularly criminal attacks involving the theft of money, they refused to call this war. They called this sort of intelligence by other means. The fact that we are sort of coming to the point where cyber is treated as an act of war, that we are standing up resources across the alliance and also within our own countries, respectively, I think is a critical development and it's long past time.
One of the major topics now in the United States is the upcoming election in November. President Zelensky said that he will be happy to cooperate both with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, whomever may win these elections. I believe the Polish president also said similar words. Do you think that Trump presidency is a potentially dangerous thing for Ukraine?
I know this is the common thread, the common language. I personally don't believe so. I've watched with some, let's say, concern as others over the past 4 to 6 years, but nevertheless, I believe that a Republican administration, just like a Democratic administration, is committed to Ukraine's future. If we look at the potential personnel that will staff the Trump State Department, his Ministry of his Department of Defense, etc., these are not doves. These are not figures that are going to back down. These are figureheads who understand clearly that Ukraine is the canary in the coal mine for the rest of Europe. And I believe that there'll be uncertainty around a Trump presidency, but nevertheless, I believe that those who will staff his administration are deeply committed to Ukraine.
I feel like the bottom line is that whomever wins, well, what the United States needs and what NATO needs from the United States is a stable government, because the stable United States is a stable ally within the framework of NATO as such. Now, coming back to now perhaps other issues that were discussed during the summit, I would love to tackle hybrid warfare. So what measures were discussed to counter the hybrid warfare tactics employed by adversaries like Russia, but also China?
Again, as you've seen across the alliance and across the world, hybrid warfare is the new game. It's a mix of cyber. It's a mix of potential terrorism or sabotage attacks, as we've seen Russia engaging in sabotage across Europe. We've seen an increased stand-up of intelligence arresting various operatives. The more that we understand that there is no tactic that will not be played out, the more we're working together to interdict these things, is the better we're going to be able to prevent these things in the future. Clearly, NATO understands this. I still think we haven't fully embraced the notion of hybrid warfare and how it plays out, again, across a range of domains. But the fact that we're talking about this and addressing this in a way that leads to some concrete steps is a path forward, and I'm glad to see it.
Apart from this, there was also a lot of talk about China and its role in potentially supporting Russia, giving this sort of industrial base to these Russian attacks. There are ongoing Belarusian Chinese drills at the border of Poland. Is China becoming increasingly a threat to NATO?
I believe that the war in Ukraine could not be prosecuted right now without the direct material support of China. I think the quicker that NATO alliance members wake up to the fact that China is not a benign actor here, it's not someone that's disinterested, it's not a party that's disinterested, but is proactively supporting a war on European territory, and there should frankly be consequences in my view for that. We all understand that much of the world is dependent on China for manufacturing, but China is dependent on us to consume. And I believe this is a key factor to be considered. And we cannot ignore China's increasingly bellicose behavior, not only in Europe, but also in the Pacific. And clearly, I think this is room for growth for NATO for years to come.
Joshua Burgin was our guest today. Thank you so much for providing your expert insights.
Thanks for having me, guys.